This was a great first full backstory chapter with a lot to cover and talk about. First, the cover story continues with Yamato and Kikunojo happy to see each other. The chapter is titled The Birth of Loki, and we do indeed get that, and much more. We start the chapter with a brief flashback to Harald's childhood, showing him growing up alongside a young Dorian Broggy. We then cut back to the teenage king, getting a sense for how self-absorbed and arrogant he is. We also see that his crew seem to be yes-men, agreeing with him in an attempt not to incur his wrath. We do not dwell on this dull scene for long, however, as there is a kingdom in the New World where a giant woman named Ida is in a cage at the circus. The sight of this angers Harald, who forcibly rescues her. All is not as it seems, however, as she is angry at him for hurting the people. She was voluntarily acting as a sideshow because she was getting paid and had a place to stay. She scolds Harald for looking down on humans. Her bravery here makes it obvious that this is where Harald's character shift begins, as he now has someone in his life who will challenge his preconceptions and motivate him to broaden his horizons. This is demonstrated in the following pages where he orders his men to help her and the village of humans to rebuild. At the end of these pages, Ida says, "Nothing in the world is meant to be destroyed." That's a line to remember, and I'm not even sure how to begin speculating on it. I might come back to it later, but for now I'm going to move on. Ida mentions being born in the South Blue, and while there is also the name of the island, Salmonai, I don't know how much we'll be hearing about this island in the future, so I won't talk too much about it. What's interesting is that I wondered whether we know anything about where Saul came from, and apparently his Viva card says South Blue as well. Whether or not it's the same island or not remains to be seen, but it seems likely. I like the miniature reveal here that the giants call the red line the Serpent of Blood. Looking back at the mural, I wonder whether one of the big dragon-like creatures represents the red line. The first world mentions the Serpent of Hellfire that is associated with the Earth God. At the moment, it's only little bits and pieces, so speculation is tricky, but sometimes the name is enough to get you thinking about the possibilities. So Harald returns to Elbaf with Ida and a new philosophy. He wants to learn about the cultures of other countries, and Jarl and Jarl are on board with this new Harald. We get a funny little scene where Harald tries to understand the concept of diplomacy and likens it to taking hostages, demonstrating how foreign the concept is to him. Harald and Ida have a child together, but Elbaf's shadowy council, and that's a literal descriptor here, forbid Harald from marrying Ida, instead arranging a marriage between him and Estrid. Estrid believes in some superstitious things, but is also seemingly after wealth and status. As Harald was out having adventures, including at one point being on Fishman Island when Neptune was born, Estrid gives birth to Harald's second son, and upon seeing his unusual eyes, immediately rejects the baby, throwing it off the tree to the underworld below. She is so distraught that she never wants to have another child. What a failure of a mother. Your child's appearance doesn't determine whether they are good or bad, it's how you raise them, and you're off to a terrible start. In any case, Loki pulls off the most unbelievable feat that we have ever seen from a newborn infant in One Piece, shown climbing the tree by himself. As Estrid continues to be a horrible mother, Harald grows frustrated that the world government interferes with his attempts to make peace with other nations. Ida talks with the young Haraldin about his baby brother, and it seems that purely on familial relations, Haraldin seems to reject Loki before even giving him a chance. This puts a new perspective on previous flashbacks where from Haraldin's perspective, Loki seemed to be a mean little brother. It seemed very probable that something like this would happen, given that Luffy took a liking to Loki, and he is usually a fairly good judge of character. Anyway, the chapter ends on a narration box claiming that all of Elbaf's misfortunes would be known as Loki's curse. So, can't wait to see how this unfortunate boy gets blamed for everything. We obviously have an intense tragedy about to follow. So this was a really good chapter, and before we wrap up, I did say earlier that I might come back to the nothing in the world is meant to be destroyed. I still don't really have much in terms of speculation for what this line could mean for the future of One Piece, but it does have me asking, really, even the Red Line? Simply because the destruction of the Red Line has been a long-standing theory in the community. The flashback continued at a brisk pace and taught us many things, but it is clear that we are not done here yet. Let me know what you thought of the chapter in the comments, and here's today's lyric quiz. It's driven me before and seems to have a vague haunting mass appeal, but lately I'm beginning to find that I should be the one behind the wheel. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.